we welcome you. This program is Issues and Answers. I am Norman A. Carter Jr., your host. On your computer or smartphone, you can view or hear us by typing in WCEGTalkRadio.com. Put that in your browser, then hit enter. And on the next screen, click the live stream tab. Or on your smart TV, just click the YouTube icon and search for WCEG Network. WCEG stands for Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. Our programming goal is to leave you more informed and more empowered than you were before you tuned in. Our motto, we speak life into the community. Now, you can like us on Facebook, and you can view us live if you're a friend of the station, and you can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. That's on Twitter. The topics and opinions on Issues and Answers are those of me, Norman A. Carter Jr., and my guest, and not the WCEG Network, so leave my boss alone. This is my show, and these are my words and the words of my guests. Keep that in mind, please. Now, today we have two special guests. Firstly, I would like to introduce to you South Fulton Mayor, the Honorable William Bill Edwards. He is the incumbent candidate who will be involved in a runoff election against Mr. Khalid Kamal, who is presently a member of South Fulton City Council. That election will be held on November 30th, 2021. Now, Mayor Edwards was elected as the city of South Fulton's first mayor on April 18th, 2017, with a 60% majority vote. Wow. Mayor Edwards previously served from 2000 to 2014 as District 7 Commissioner on the Fulton County Commission. He was elected to the Commission's Vice President's chairmanship in 2003, 2008, 2009, and 2010. Mayor Edwards is a graduate of the 1972 class from Morehouse College, where he was a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and earned a bachelor's degree in business. He earned a law degree from the Atlanta School of Law in 1980. For nearly 40 years, he operated the Edwards Agency, an independent representative of Allstate Insurance on Old National Highway. He is a member of the Cascade United Methodist Church. He has received numerous honors, including South Fulton Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Citizens Awards, Martin Luther King Jr. Award for Community Service, and he is the proud father of 3 adult children, William Jr., Erica, and Janicia, and the grandfather of Sierra, William III, Morgan, Mackenzie, Jemiah, Wesley, and Lillian. Welcome, Honorable Mayor, to Issues
Thank you
and
so
Answers.
much. I am truly blessed to be here, Norman. Excited about being here with Ms. Chatman and being the guest on WCEG. And here to answer all questions that you put before me. And I'm excited right now let's get it on.
All right. Before we do that, Mr. Mayor, I just want to introduce to our audience Mrs. Chatman. I'm sure she's familiar to many of you. Ms. Chatman is a well-known community activist with over 30 years of community service in the areas of homelessness, child advocacy, education reform, community organizer, and so many other things. In 2006, Mrs. Chatman was a member of the original group of citizens who began fighting for the cityhood of the city of South Fulton, Georgia. And that's why we have her on this program. Over a 10-year period, she worked with various community groups for its passage. And now she is the CEO of a PAC committee that was organized in 2020 called the Citizens for Excellence in Elected Leaders. And just as a little aside, she is the host of Take a Stand on the WCEG Network. I'm going to put that out there, but I'm going to treat her like the guest that she is today and not as a host. So welcome to all of you. Welcome to all.
Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome
Mr.
to
Carter.
all.
Thank you.
I have a few questions. I think I'll start the questions off. And today, Mrs. Chatman she won't be doing a lot of interviewing. She's going to be making a lot of commentary on Fulton County, as she was one of the people who helped to organize that. But my first question, Honorable Mayor, will go to you.
Yes.
And as again, this is the mayor is part of a runoff election that will be held on November 30th of this year. So just a few weeks from now. Honorable Mayor, on a recent interview, your opponent stated that you were the ideal candidate to be the first mayor of South Fulton City because you were the only candidate at that time to have held prior elected position in government. He stated that you laid the foundation for the city, but he has a foot in the future. Do you have a foot in the future, Mr. Mayor?
Well, if you're going to have a foot in the future, you must have had some sort of foot in the past. And I think that we are progressive. We're going to be moving forward. I agree that everything he said before was true. I was the best candidate then, and I'm still the best candidate. And I can remember totally in a meeting, he said out of his mouth, "You're the best mayor we could have." So I don't know where all the changes come from. I'm continuously doing the things I need to do, being progressive, moving this city forward. I'm not going to bog myself down into petty politics, the name calling, the lying, and things of that nature. It is not necessary. This election is too important for that. And I would say to you, like I said to most people, you can have your own opinions, but you can never have your own facts. And so we continue to move forward gracefully. We're gonna win this race. Early voting starts on the 17th through the 24th. We're gonna win this race, and we're gonna try to build this city on a strong foundation that we've always laid, and we're gonna move forward with that.
I would like to also mention, which I did at the beginning, that Mayor Edwards for the last election, he received 44.1% of the votes for a total of 6,850 votes. That was as of 11/5. And Mr. Kamal had 29.4% of the votes for a total of 4,568. Mrs. Chatman, have you seen any improvement in the city of South Fulton since its cityhood began?
Oh, absolutely. We're a new city, 4 years strong, and I can say that I have seen the growth. Do I agree with everything that has been done or said? Absolutely not. But it's just like being on a baby. You excuse me, I'm gonna have to say it the way I said. When you're a baby, you're on the titty milk, and then you graduate to the Similac, and then the whole milk. So that's just how this city is. We were a baby. So right now we're on whole milk. I'm going to say this. I stand behind the mayor breast milk. There you go. I took it. I took it to country raised breast milk. And we have grown. We still got some growing to do. And then we got to understand, Mr. Carter, what happened was we had a mayor that understood how government worked. And we had 7 council people that had never been on council or commissioner. So when you get everybody together and everybody think they know it all, but really we don't know it, we got to learn. So I say that, so far the city has did outstanding job, and I want to thank the mayor. the council, you know, that we got a weak mayor, strong council. So some things that people say that the mayor, you know, have done. I did Khalid's interview, and he said that we had a city manager, the fire under the city manager, and all these other people. But the mayor don't do that. The city council do that. So again, we'll get there.
I wanted to bring up something I slightly forgot about to bring up for our listeners, because we know what we're talking about. Well, you two do. I'm not that familiar with South Fulton, but for our listeners, South Fulton is located in Georgia. In 2020, it had a population of 102,909. It is the 8th largest city in Georgia and the 309th largest city in the United States. South Fulton, as Mrs. Chatman mentioned, is currently growing at a rate of 1.86% annually. It expands over 86 miles with a density of 1,214 people per square mile. The average household income in South Fulton is $80,137, with a poverty rate of 9.11%. Keep in mind, the national average is 10.5%. The median age for South Fulton is 37 years. That's going to be important in a minute. According to the latest census, and this is important for some of my later questions, and South Fulton is comprised of 91.85% of people who describe themselves as Black or African American, 5.5% as people who describe themselves as white, and then the remainder is of various other ethnic groups. Mr. Mayor, your opponent states that 25% of South Fulton's $127 million budget goes into policing and only 1% towards economic development. Is this true, and does there need to be a change in budgeting?
Let me just say this. When I ran for this office, I ran on two pillars, Norman. One is public safety, and the other is education. And I always say, people ask me about, well, why are you talking about education, Bill? You're just the mayor of the city. Well, as long as my citizens are paying 53 cents out of every dollar to go toward education, then we should always be concerned about our education. Why did I pick those two things? No one wants to live in a city where they don't feel safe. And no one wants to live in a city where the child can't be educated. That's just simple facts. And when you focus on those two areas, Norman, economic development comes with it because you have the two things. So what have I done? So we have built one of the most fantastic public safety arenas in the country. And I say that openly and honestly. Our crime rate is down 38%. We continuously bring in police officers on a monthly basis. And I know we do that because I have to swear each one of them in myself. We continuously do that. We continuously give them the best equipment that they can find, because I don't want nobody who leaves home in a blue uniform and kiss their family goodbye and because of uniforms and whatever, they don't get home for whatever reason. So there is no city, Norman. I want him to name me one city that does not put that type of money in public safety. Not one. Atlanta, no matter how it could be Palmetto. Just point me one person out one city does not invest the bulk of their revenue in keeping their people safe. We are doing economic development for us is doing fine. We have projects on the table right now. We have the new city hall. We have the new town center at Chattahoochee Hills. We're continuously to grow economic development wise. We have what we call the downtown development centers on Roosevelt Highway and on National. And with that comes two Main Street managers. And the Main Street managers are employed to make sure that we bring in the best development for the areas in which they're in. We're moving. We're not standing still. We're pushing forward and bringing in the stuff that people want to see. I told you that I would have a police station in every district. Norman, I've done that. And with the increase in crime, look at our fire department. Our fire department is being equipped when we got the new chief in. The oldest piece of equipment on the fire station that I got right now, Norman, is 2015. And when we came here, we were operating police equipment that was over 25 years old. And so we're making the right stride. We build the foundation, Norman. You got to build the foundation over the last 4 years. Now, Norman, it's time to build a house, and we're ready to go.
All right. And for our listeners, and Mr. Mayor, I'm glad you brought that up. When we talk about public safety, we're not talking about just policing. We're also talking about fire and all the things that go into that. And that's for one who was in that career, I can tell you that it is very, very expensive. Taking care of your policing and your fire, just those two entities alone will take up a lot of your budget.
And Norman, let me just say one other thing. When we came into this city, our response times for police was 20 minutes. We went down from 20 minutes to 9 minutes. Okay, the average is 7 minutes. So we're moving very close to where we need to be, because I have one of the greatest police chiefs in the region, in Chief Meadows, and he keeps his eye on the prize. I have a great fire chief who's also, we're going to build a state-of-the-art fire station on Cascade Palmetto. We're going to put a police headquarters facility somewhere on Old National Highway. We're trying to get it done right now. So we're moving forward with town centers, all this kind of economic development, because people know that our city is safe, and they know that our education system is on the rise.
One of the things, since you brought that up, Mr. Mayor, your candidate states at several meetings that he is against building any more government facilities, and that would be another one, against building another public safety complex or anything like that. His only interest is in building or in commercial entities coming in and building properties that will make money for the city. Okay. So that seems to fly against what you're saying.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do, and I'll wait for the answer. What has he done? As a district council person in a district, if you believe that, then the question becomes, what have you done? And I will sit back and wait for that answer for days if I have to. It's going to come out the same thing. You have done nothing. All right.
Mrs. Chatman, do you have an answer for that question?
Well, the mayor said it. When I say if you can say that, put out that you have done something, and I'm a firm believer. If you're going to criticize anybody, you need to show where you did something. So the question I have for the mayor, and I know the answer, but what have he done on Old National in District 6 since the 4 years that the councilman been in office? Could you point out something that he's done over there? I do know that he sponsored the different clubs, and the one that he's doing now that that they did the raid at. He's standing behind that. But as a taxpayer, and the taxpayer over there, do we want clubs in our community that's getting raided with guns in it, drugs in it, and etc., and the council man still backs that? That tells me that he either don't care about the residents over there. And the question that I have, is he getting some type of kickback? Because there's no way in the world that you can get guns, drugs, criminal activity in a club and you stand by it to keep it open in your community. Could you tell me, could you answer that, Mayor?
Well, let me just say the disclaimer that these are the opinions of my guest and not WCEG.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, if you care to comment,
let me just add to that. You know, you got to consider the type of politics you're in. You are a mayor and a weak mayor of a city where all of the power lies in the city council. Here's a person that's on the city council who knows what we're up against, okay? Now, I want businesses. I want black businesses, white businesses, whatever business it is. But what I want you to do, I want you to do business in this city lawfully, because we have a perception of Old National that we must overcome. We have been called Old Nat L, Old Nasty, Old everything, but we are Old National Highway, and we have to believe that and make things different. That's why I have a downtown development district on Old National right now. That's why we have a Main Street manager on Old National right now. That's why we have an office on Old National called Collab South that help people who are doing business to do business even better. I'm not here to run nobody out. I want your tax money, but I do not want to feed into the perception of what Old National used to be.
But let me ask you a question, Mayor, and you said something that we have a weak mayor, which I know, and a strong council. Why would a councilman want to stop being a councilman where he got all the power to be in a seat that is a weak mayor that you really just have veto powers and you just the face? Help me understand. I can't find, so maybe you got to answer.
Well, I've asked that question to myself many times. I don't have the answer for you with him in that, but I tell you this. Yes, you're a weak mayor, but you have to have, I've been around almost 20 years now. You have to have the resources. You have to have the respect of other people in politics that you can call upon to negotiate your city through things. I mean, just recently, I just negotiated us through the Fulton Industrial Boulevard. We got together. People knew me. They respected me. We sat at the table. And as we sat at the table, I put out a plan that I thought was good. And that plan is the exact thing that went through the legislature. So you got to have resources that you can help. You got to be a negotiator when time. You need to be a teacher sometimes. With those who haven't had the luxury of your years in politics, I have all of that, and I've used it to the best of my ability.
Mr. Carter, can I ask why, and then you'll take over. You said something that you have to have relationships. And so right now, this is my view. I don't believe that the councilman have the relationship with the folks under the dome, because you're going to need those relationships. But let me ask you this, Mayor, because this is what the street committee saying, and I love the street committee because street committee can put a whole lot of lies out. Could you tell us about the sidewalks that they said that you didn't do in Old National? And Mr. Norm, and I don't know if you knew this question, but they were also talking about he was working with Governor Kemp to bring the Afghanistans over here to build houses in South Fulton. And then I'm through, Mr. Norm.
No, we don't want you to be through.
Norman,
we're all about bringing out the truth here.
Let me address that. We did the sidewalk on Old National when I was commissioner. All right. During that time, we ran out of funding. Since we've been over here, the completion of the sidewalk has been a part of what we call our capital improvement plan, CIP. Now, people have to understand that doing something, there are procedures and stuff that you have to go through. Remembering that Old National is a state road. So we have to negotiate with the state too. We have to negotiate with people for easement rights. All of these things take a little time. Classic example. I started working on the roundabout at Butner Road and Stonewall Tail when I was a commissioner, and got money from David Scott to help do it. It takes time. So we're right now, the money for the completion of the sidewalks is in our capital improvement plan. And I will promise anybody that those sidewalks will be completed after we go through all our due diligence.
And I'd like to add to my listeners that because you hear the questions I might ask, I have no dog in this fight. Believe me, I am here, and I did interview Mr. Khalid Kamal a couple of months ago about the mayoral election, and some of the comments that I have that I will make are based on that interview. And also, I will mention that just as with Mayor Edwards, I did some online research. I didn't ask anyone from the station anything about you or Mr. Kamal. I did a lot of online research for both of you, and it's from that resource is where I generate a lot of my questions. And I want to go back to the weak mayor, strong city council to get at the truth, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
There's a meeting that city council meeting that Mr. Kamal has put on his website. The city council meeting, I believe it was in February, but it was about some issues concerning three House bills, three bills that were going before the state assembly. And there were some, how can I say this? Some parliamentary proceedings that were going on, and everything, I believe that you had everything in order, but there were people, which includes Councilman Khalid, who had a different view of that. At any rate, there was a vote taken at that meeting that decided that this was not the proper time to bring that particular issue up due to the agenda that you already had. I believe something about it wasn't an emergency situation, so it could be put off till later. But that was a vote that your city council made to table the issue. But on his advertisement, his advertisement says that you blocked it, blocked the issue, which is obviously an untruth if you know anything about politics. But this type of information goes out to the public, and this is your opportunity to sort of clear that up, if there's anything clearer than what I've already said.
Yes, it's very clear, James. Let me just say one thing. When it comes to politics, if you got a 7-man council, if you don't have 4 votes, all you have is good conversation. Right. Nothing else. Mm-hmm. Without 4 votes, all you got is good conversation. Mm-hmm. And I try to tell people that, and I try to give them ways in which they can interact with their colleagues to win them over their side. No one, even Mr. Kamal, can tell you that I, as mayor, have ever gone to any council person and said, I want you to vote for this because I want to have it. Nobody, pick them out. Nobody can say that. And on the other hand, each new council person, I just did this with Natasha Williams, and I had a conversation with her. I said, Natasha, I will never tell you how to vote. I will give you as much information as I can to make sure that you have some reasonable remnants of information to make your decision, but I'll never tell you how to vote. So when it comes to a weak mayor, my job, Norman, is to keep some procedural consistency in the meeting, all right? Okay. Wherever I can interject something that I feel is important. And if you've seen my meetings, you know that I very seldom interject anything. The conversation is always the face over between the 7 and them. And I have to hold the reins on these 7 mavericks, okay, to make sure that we can get to the next issue. So I don't know, I'll keep saying, I'm not a weak man. I can't hold up anything. Mr. Khalid right now has more power than I have. Okay. If he can use it in the right way, that's the problem. If you don't have 4 votes, all you got is good conversation.
My next question, and this is, I'm going to get into a few sensitive issues here because they obviously are germane to the political contest. During my interview of mayoral candidate Kamau, he repeatedly boasted about South Fulton being the blackest city in America. He stated that the area he represents is 98% black, and that if he has 98% approval and a 98% approval rating, that should be something anyone should be proud of. And I want to reverse this and saying if you had a white candidate who calls for his city to be the whitest city in America and states that his constituency is 98% white, and that he is proud of that 98% political rating, are you running as a candidate for all the people of South Fulton or just the black people of South Fulton?
I can tell you unequivocally, I'm running for the people. All right. I don't know where he's going with that. Listen, it could be the blackest city in America, but nobody, I don't know nobody, even before the Revolutionary War, that ever got 100% of the vote, Norman.
Mm-hmm.
If
Right.
you vote, if you're voting just on color. So when you say the blackest city in America, I don't doubt that. I don't, say you're lying. I mean, it's great to know. It's good information. All right. But we got to take that information and we have to use it wisely to get where we want to go. And in terms of economic development, economic development, a lot of times they ain't got no color in it. It's just economic development. I grew up under segregation. I'm about as black as you can get. All right. I'm 300 times as black as Mr. Kamau. All right. So what I'm saying is that's the case. Let me go back and say this again. If you feel that way, and if your people in your district feel that way about you, then why do you have the highest crime rate of the 7 districts that we have? Why do you have least economic development out of the 7 districts that we have? So my question is then, how much has black helped you? If you cannot use it to push your area to where it needs to be, the question is always going to be with me, with all this in that district that he's in. The final question is going to be, who is Khalid Kamau?
I have another part. I have a part 2 to that question, and I'm not ignoring you, Mrs. Chatman, but I think that Mayor, I think you're the best ones to answer this one. This is part 2 of that.
Yeah.
Although and these are taken from Mr. Kamau's statements. I'm not making this up. Although your opponent cannot make a speech without speaking about the blackness of South Fulton, he basically says he is only worried about pleasing that sector of his constituency. Two-part question. Is this a political platform that will attract new businesses into South Fulton, which he talks about frequently, and improve its revenue?
Absolutely not. You have to be level-minded about where you're. Listen, it's white people who live in this city.
I understand that.
All right. You have to be, and Hispanics and others, you have to be careful because people want to live where they feel free. They feel like they want to belong. I do not want to alienate nobody from being a part of one of the greatest cities that you can have in America. And I refuse to do that. So if you say that this is the constituency that you want to help, then let me go back to my first question. What have you done? What meaningful thing have you done in 4 years to help this 90-some% population outside of voting up a couple of holidays in commemoration of your blackness, or you talk about, I had the university, for election university, which you did one time and never heard about that again. So the question below, what have you done with it? Now it's all black, you feel it's up, what have you done with it? And so we have to work together. I mean, this is the world we live in, and I'm gonna continue to be inclusive of all of our residents and those who are here now and those who want to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the WCEG, the World Community Empowerment Group. I am your host, Norman A. Carter Jr., and we have with us today Honorable Mayor William Bill Edwards, who is one of the two candidates campaigning in a runoff election on November 30th of this year, and also Mrs. Damita Chatman, who is not only a host of our own program here on the WCEG Network, but also an activist in the community of South Fulton. Mrs. Chatman, your opinions on what's going on with economic development in South Fulton?
I see a growth, but again, we've been here 4 years. And again, I'm going to piggyback off something you said about the blackness. Yes, we are a black city, but we do have other folks live in our city. And you can't put stuff out like that because, in my opinion, it kind of make folks wonder, do you want to come out there for economic development? And then when people come to, I believe when they get ready to come to our city, they're watching all of us. They're watching the city council, they're watching the mayor, they're watching everybody. So if I get up there and say I'm the blackest city and I just want the black folks, you know, we've got some money, but you know, the white folks got some money too. And then they'll say, well, I don't want to be down there with them. So I say, Mr. Carter, we have to be very careful what we say and what we do, because we're pushing economic development out. Look, and you can say this, I'm not from here. And they were saying how service merchandise used to be over Old National. You can just look at the Greenbrier Mall. When we first moved here, 2005, Mr. Carter, it was some stores over there. Now you move Macy's out, and we black folks, we go up to the Lenox to take our money up to Lenox. But what the folks up in Lenox doing now? They don't want us up there.
Right.
So we have to be careful. I say, you know, we just have to do stuff the right way, and it's about the community thriving, not just on the little pettiness. So we got some growing to do, and I believe that it's going to be all right. But leadership is very important.
And I one
Norman,
of the things.
could I say a little bit about the?
Please do. Yes, sir.
A little bit about the financial aspects of this city, because
Sure.
people always want to know about their money. You know, do you know in this city that our revenue is over budget and our expenses is under budget? Wouldn't that be a great thing for anybody to have, even if you're in a big business, a small business? It is a kind of a policy with municipalities. We have something called a fund balance, okay? And in that fund balance, Norman, if you keep 2 months operating expense in your fund balance, then people say to you, well, you're doing a great job as a city, and it increases your bond rating, okay? This city not only has 2%, but we have 4% of our monies in our fund balance. That protects us. That gives us the opportunity to do what we need to do. We have at least $50 million in our budget right now that's dedicated to projects, URAs, and other projects that we got on, dedicated, that's sitting in our budget that we have not used to do any other projects except those which is designated for. I raised that issue because people have to know that financially we are sound.
I wanted to bring that up. That was one of my questions because, and again, this is according to Mr. Kamal, only 5% of South Fulton's land is zoned commercial, and the remainder is zoned residential. So what he's saying is that South Fulton exists on the backs of the tax-paying citizens, and he wants to bring in more commercial business while sort of segregating who he wants to bring in.
I'm not going to disagree a lot with that, but let me say this. The question is, what has he brought in?
Mm-hmm.
With that, knowing that, what have you brought in? Not only what you have brought in, what have you gone out and recommended that comes here? I agree. And I'll tell you, if we don't build another house in South Fulton, I'll be perfectly fine. All right. Because I realize that what our economic development has to do now is look toward the commercial end. He's right. We are running on the backs of homeowners. I don't like it. Our future strategies takes us to the commercial end, and we will bring more commercial into this city as we should. But not one time. Go back and check the tapes. Tell me one time Mr. Kamal has introduced anything in District 7 or in this city that would alleviate what he's talking about.
And that's why we have this forum for you, Mr. Mayor, as we ask you questions. Again, a little personal, and these personal attacks are out there, and this, I guess this may play into voter turnout or who they turn out to vote for. But he made a speech, Mr. Kamal made a speech on May 14, 2020, for a station that's broadcast out of Texas, but was here in Atlanta, the metro Atlanta area. And he described political old heads are performing for white people outside the city. And I'd like to just really know of what he is speaking, and are you part of this political old head that he's talking about? And the reason why I asked this is because Mr. Kamal seems to be running a candidacy on race, and as a song that Billy Paul had out years ago, he had a song called "Am I Black Enough for You?" So it's like, I'm more blacker than this candidate. That which is the type of juvenile interplay that we really don't need because it's not productive. But it's out there. It's out there in the public, and it's out there. It's actually out there in social media.
Well, let me just say this, Mr. Norm. Southwest Arts Center, Wolf Creek Library, Wolf Creek Amphitheater, Wolf Creek Golf Course, HJC Bowden Center, New Beginning Senior Center, Palmetto Senior Center, Hateville Senior Center. Let me leave you this. Youth Leadership Academy for Boys, Youth Leadership Academy for Girls, Priceless University, Teen Dads, and a Truancy Reduction Intervention Program, just to name a few that this old head has brought to this community. And so I will match up with him anytime as to what you have done and to what I have done. And you will see a sizable difference. That's a disrespect, sir. There's a reason why your president is 70-some years old. There's a reason for that. All right. There's a reason why his opponent was 70-something years old. The qualities that I have and the qualities I continue to have over the time is that what you need today. You don't get that out of a book in the morning. You don't get that from a speech you heard last week. You have to live that. You have to earn that respect. And to even talk about age. Listen, man, I drank a lot of color water. People will say, what is color water? My son used to say, Pop, you drink some Kool-Aid?
Yeah, no.
No, I drank a lot of color water as a kid. All right. But I saw something that did tell me if I can quote it right, it said something to the fact that God protected me while I was young. And I guess it's because I don't have to be the fool I am today because I was protected when I was older. When I was younger. So these guys have these voluminous ideas, these voluminous visions. Well, they had this voluminous sight. As a preacher told me the other day, there's a difference between sight and vision now. So
okay,
they have this voluminous sight, and but nothing to back it up. The thing I say is this: look at my background, look at where I've come. You've been voting for me for 20 years, and I have been delivering for 20 years. All right, and just weigh your options. That's all you have to do.
Mrs. Chatman, do you have any comments?
Oh, well,
You look
he
restless
just
back
said-
there.
he just said, weigh the options. You have to see and look at the track record. What have the councilman done for District 6, and what has the mayor done for the city and as a commissioner? You got to weigh it, and we have to make the decision.
Some of the things that I again, I go to social media. That seems to be the venue now that people are using, positive and negative. But there's a commercial that he has out there on social media. That's Mr. Kamau, where he's talking about the negative view of South Fulton, and he mentions the budgeting that's set aside for police, public safety. But just behind that video, but that mentioning of police and public safety, there's a picture of a video of a group of Black Lives Matter demonstrators walking with assault weapons. Is this the kind of message that we want to send to the constituency of South Fulton, where we want to replace the budget for policing and have people walking down the street with assault weapons? And I put this in light, it's not really a joke, because this came out after the murder of Sequoia Turner in Atlanta, where we had vigilantes with assault weapons who killed this young girl and shot at her mother. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll let you respond to that.
Well, let me just say this. Mr. Khalid, as a council person, had the ability to do a lot of things. If you just put it on the table and hopes that he gets 4 votes. All right. See, that's what people understand. You're blaming me. You're the policymakers. The 7 of you are policymakers. I'm just the mayor. Okay. So all of those policies, Mr. Norman, all the things he talks about, if he wants to have everybody armed with weapons, just put it on the table and see what he get 4 votes to do it. All right. And so he's responsible. He is responsible. He is the policy maker that sets the tone for what we want to do as a city. And he has not yet made any substantial policy that has brought his district up. I mean, I got council people who have done outstanding things in their districts, have brought in public supermarkets, have brought in everything in their districts. He has bought absolutely nothing. And it's asinine to think that you want to even compare what we have here with armed guards. And I believe in Black Lives Matter, but I also believe all lives matter. if you want to compare us to militia, that's not where we are. We're in the growth mode. We're in the collaboration mode. And that's where we're going to stay until we get this city where it needs to be.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for that answer. You may have heard, both of you, that I've mentioned social media several times, where I've looked up comments and videos of Mayor Edwards, and comments and videos and pictures of candidate Khalid Kamal. Mr. Mayor, are you aware of any information out there on social media that would not only be that was put out by Mr. Kamal, that would not only be embarrassing to the city of South Fulton, but also possibly detrimental to the candidacy of Mr. Kamal?
Well, let me answer that question this way. I don't believe in negative politics. I would never put out anything against Mr. Kamal that I would think not only hurt him, because you have to understand, when you negative politics, things like that, you read my bio, right?
Yes,
you saw those grandchildren, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
You saw those children.
I did.
And what that does is that when you do stuff like that, it affects those grandchildren and those children that have to go to school with people and have to say, look what happened to your granddad. They say your granddad. I don't do that. Now, am I aware? I'm only aware of what I've seen. And I mean, I don't force people to put that out, but I'm only aware of what I've seen. You know, they say pictures are worth 1,000 words. And so my thing is, I don't like the negative politicking. I do not go along with people doing it. But listen, I got to run my campaign. And Norman, you say you've seen the ads, you've seen the things that I put out. All of my stuff has been very positive.
Mm-hmm.
I have not anything negative to say about anybody. I don't say that, you know, I'm bringing in Afghanistan refugees and all this kind of stuff. And the important thing about it too, Norman, is I don't waste my time trying to dignify that stuff. I'm not going to dignify a lie, you know. Okay. And so that's what I don't do. But yes, do I know? You ask me, I have seen. All right. It's been brought to my attention and I have seen.
Well, I will say this for our listeners, because I don't pull this out of the air, that there has been some alarming and dangerous, I would say, particularly for a political candidate, of videos, and not necessarily videos, but pictures of candidate Kamal that border on the pornographic. And they were out there on social media. I can tell you that as of today, some of those have been pulled. Right. So well, that's good. Yes, it is good. But and I will talk about this later in my closing remarks about character matters. And we had a president where people were ignored certain facets of his character because they deemed it as unimportant, or as, well, that's what all boys do, or so to speak. But those are indicators to not only the electorate, but more importantly to our children. Because once you know, if you don't know it, that when you put things out here on social media, they do not go away.
Right.
They don't go away. And when you're trying to bring businesses into the community, when you are talking about public safety in the community, when you are talking about guarding the children and the women of our cities and states against sexual predators, and you put things out there that are dangerous for our children to see, I think that needs to be called out. And that's the only reason why I brought that up. And Mr. Mayor, please, I don't want I'm not asking you for a comment. Mrs. Chatman, do you have any closing remarks before I get closing remarks from the mayor?
A great show. Again, Mr. Carter, I want to thank you for this time. Again, I agree with you. What you put out there is out there. So again, Mr. Carter, do we want someone to lead our city that has certain things out there that would be detrimental to our city? That's the question. And if it's, again, when you talk about how our former president, what he did, we have to be careful, because it's what you put out there, you can't get back. It's out there. Again, I want to thank you for a great show. I want to thank the mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have any closing comments?
Yes, thank you. I think these were very appropriate questions, and I hope that I've answered them so that some of this can really go away. Listen, I want your vote. I want your vote so we can bring back resiliency to this city. We can bring back resources to this city. We can have a stable economy and a stable budget. I need your vote to do that. Early voting starts on the 17th through the 24th. I need everybody who voted for Bill Edwards and more, come back out. We need you because the future of this city needs you. I want to thank you again, Mr. Carter. And once again, I leave with the question: who is Khalid Kamal and who is Timothy Stevens?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I'd just like to close out with these few remarks before we leave out, actually close out the program. Most of my listeners know that the majority of my broadcasts concern issues that have national or international impact. That is why we are called the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group and not the Local Community Empowerment Group. But some issues, although local, reflect national trends. When those local issues, which occur in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, reflect behaviors that seem to be trending in other parts of the country, we talk about those issues here on Issues and Answers on the WCEG Network. This is why we have done programs on racist attacks on the Asian community, Nazi infiltration into the Republican Party, and voting rights prior to the primary elections for President, U.S. Congress, and U.S. Senate. I moved to Metro Atlanta 21 years ago. Up there in the north where I'm from, Metro Atlanta was known for promoting itself as innovative, creative, opportunity-filled, diverse, and politically superior to most other areas in the country. Now, the political superior portion changed shortly after I arrived. One mayor goes to prison, a sheriff murders his opponent, another mayor has a cabinet full of people that are either under indictment, under investigation, or in prison. Elections are important. It has been said that people don't get the government they want, they get the government they deserve. In 2016, we saw a presidential candidate with one foot on solid ground wrapped in the American flag and the other foot stuck in a cesspool of bigotry, misogyny, and profanity. Nationwide voter apathy allowed him and his supporters to metastasize and take this country down a path from which it will take this country years to recover. When you sit on your fanny rather than vote and stand in line, you set the stage for people of dubious character to rise to the pinnacles of government leadership. That should never happen in the United States of America. On November 2 of this year, cities and states across the country voted for mayors, governor, legislators, and other government offices. South Fulton, Georgia, was among those cities holding elections for mayor and several city council seats. Only 19% of South Fulton's 72,395 adults turned out to vote. Are you listening, America? This is an abomination from a portion of the country that led our nation in a quest for voting rights for all people. Are we as a community and as a country falling back into voter apathy? Listeners, I thank you so much for joining us today on this program on WCEG Issues and Answers. I am Norman Carter. I thank our guest, Mrs. Damita Chatman, and Honorable Mayor William Edwards for joining us today and informing the public of things they should know to grow and to thrive. Thank you so very much, and good evening.